All right. And we'll go right into it. Welcome to the Alliance Amateur Radio Network, where communication is more than signal strength, it's stewardship. I'm your host, Todd Owen. My call sign is Kilo Echo 9 Delta Quebec Sierra, and I am QRV. Our guest today is well known in the amateur radio community. He's a successful YouTube creator, antenna manufacturer, and elected official. Welcome to the network, Michael Martens, KB9VBR.
Thank you, and good day to you too. So it's a pleasure being here today to chat with you for a while.
Sounds good. We'll dive right in. First off, I always like to find out about operators' call signs. Some go
hmm
vanity, some go legacy, some stick with what the FCC gave them. Does yours have any significance for you?
No, this is my FCC assigned call sign. I got my license back in 1999, and that was the one in the queue for me. Um, I was always considering getting something shorter, especially after I got my extra license in, I think it was in 2002. But by that time, I had started producing building the antennas, the J-pole style antennas, and my call sign had become my brand, and which was
Yeah.
probably not the best idea at the time, but it's what you do, and now I'm kind of stuck with it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can imagine. Four characters would probably be a lot easier to remember. But yeah, I started. I got my tech ticket back in this past July. So,
hmm
and yeah, I've just kind of stuck with it. I've gotten used to saying it, so I've stuck with mine. But yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, yours has become synonymous with the J pole stuff. So
The,
yeah,
the
definitely.
only yeah the only downside with it is that it is not a very good call sign for CW. The V and the B together are just absolutely terrible combination. So I don't know. Maybe someday I will shorten it. If the perfect there's a few vanity call signs that I would like to have, but
Yeah.
they probably won't show up anytime soon. So
Oh
that's
yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, what's we'll go with stick with
Mhm.
your beginnings here in ham radio. What first drew you to amateur radio, and I
Yeah.
guess how did it shape your understanding and responsibility in community?
Yeah, I probably have a story that seems kind of similar and familiar to a lot of people. First introduction to amateur radio was back probably when I was about, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years, probably about 11 or 12 years old. Got a world band radio for Christmas. You start scanning the dial, you find Voice of America and things like that, and then you find the foreign broadcasters, and then you find the other stuff, that's along the edges. And I thought, it'd be cool to get your amateur radio license. So I went to the
Yeah,
library and I checked out a book and I read it. And yeah, back in then time in the early '80s, you needed Morse code and a whole nine yards. And I said,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
man, I'm probably not. This is probably not going to happen anytime soon. So it's sits on the shelf. Fast forward about, I don't know how many years. Late '90s. Had a big string of bad weather come through our community. I decided, well, I'm gonna get a police scanner so I can hear what's going on.
yeah.
And then that just opens you up to the world of
Oh
2 meter
yeah.
amateur repeaters, and you say, well, what are these people talking about? And you start listening to them and says, well, okay, this time I'm gonna do it. I'm about 30 years old. I'm gonna get my ham radio license. You don't need Morse code, but if you wanna, get back then they had the novice and the technician plus license and
Yeah.
all that yet. So got the 5 words a minute. Um, Got everything else, Technician Plus back in 1999. About 8 months later, upgraded to General, and a couple of years after that, I got my extra. So,
Yeah. Yeah. When was it they shrunk down to like just the three classes?
it was just the three classes. It was in 2020. So the spring of 2020. So I was already had my Technician Plus license. I had a CSCE, a Certificate of Completed Examination for the
Okay.
general, but to be a general back then, you still needed 13 words a minute until
Yeah.
the restructuring dropped everything down to five. Since I already had the five, I just went into a paper upgrade and
Yeah.
got my general.
Yeah.
And then the code, I think Morse code continued until about 2007, and then that was completely eliminated. So that was no longer required for any license class.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for like the CW operator, and I'm trying to slowly learn it myself because
Hmm.
I everyone I've talked to about it, like at least try and learn it. And that definitely would have probably been a a barrier for me if we went into, to be completely honest, going into ham radio. But I do want to learn, and I have so much respect for the guys that and girls that can do it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's a great skill I think to have.
Oh yeah.
It's yeah,
And I think, no longer being required, it has definitely seen a renaissance, especially with younger amateur operators. They
yeah,
they want to do it, and they're getting into it and enjoying it. So it's I think that's totally amazing. I'm still struggling with it after
yeah.
26 years.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I hear a bunch of people talking about like there's just this like a
Hmm.
phone app. It's a Morse Mania or something like that,
Hmm.
and like I just hear like random people talking about they're just trying to like just to learn it. They're not even really into like amateur radio. They're just trying to
Yeah.
learn Morse code.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a definitely a cool skill to, and a
Hmm.
good skill to have, important
Yeah.
skill for sure. Do you remember like your first contact period, and then do you remember like when you're in ham radio, or one that got you like really hooked on the hobby?
I think, some of my earliest contacts back then, the 2 meters and the repeaters were still a very vibrant community.
Yeah,
So I know, yeah, I don't remember exactly who I talked to, but when, yeah, some of the earliest contacts were on that local 2 meter repeater. Uh, I got involved with our local club right away when I first got licensed. Our club was a it was a good one. I mean, they were pretty welcoming, and got involved quickly. I think what sort of hooked me on amateur radio, it just drug me in, is they were active in a lot of stuff, and I just started volunteering. I says, yeah, I want to
yeah,
do that too,
yeah,
and yep, we'll put you to work, and
yeah. No, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, yeah. All
and
the
that's
Aries and
yeah,
Skywarn, and
that's what did it.
yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
And did you have like early on? Did you have like a mentor that they call them Elmers in the ham radio world? That kind of helped you.
Not there was a not one I would say specifically that was really long term. There was a few um club members that helped, initially, like took me in, for my first the first time doing getting on the air in HF, come on down, we'll do like the Wisconsin QSO party together. It's I'll put you on this transceiver and we'll do this one. And we just worked, like that side by side, so that I was with a more experienced person to kind of get that feeling of operating on the HF bands. Uh, but I know some people that, they really kind of get connected with a singular person or an Elmer, and
Yeah.
that's great. I think I I really reached out, and I ended up with with a community of people. There was probably about 4 or 5 individuals that back then in the early days when I was in the club, that I could really lean on and get the answers that I needed.
Yeah, kind of Elmer by committee
Hmm.
type deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's kind of the same position I'm in as well. Kind of like you have you have the guys that specialize and you kind of tap their knowledge, but then you also have the ones where the the Elmers that have the pretty much overall
Yeah.
knowledge and kind of help you early on.
Hmm.
Very good. You see any parallels with amateur radio and self-regulation culture? Any parallels to your work in your public office?
To a certain degree, I think that what's really cool about amateur radio is that the community pretty much self-regulates, and if there's behaviors that you don't want to see happening on the air, they do a pretty good job of I don't want to say eliminating it, or whatnot, fixing the problem, especially when it comes to interference cases, things like that.
Yeah,
Uh, Self-regulation, I see as it's when we talk about governance, I'm not really a libertarian kind of guy, and I see that on that larger framework, I don't see that kind of self-regulation being helpful, just because a lot of when you get into that bigger macro scale, a lot of people's self-interests are motivated by different factors,
yeah,
and that can be contrary to what would actually be good governance. And it's a good framework, but I think that you still need um, positive policy to have to shape a direction, so people sort of have a more unified understanding of how society should operate.
yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. It's kind of
Hmm.
there's a whiff of Wild West to it. Yeah,
Hmm.
and yeah, and which yeah, I definitely agree with you about maybe a little bit more can be done. Do you think there's anything uh, that said? Yeah, I mean, do you think there's anything government could learn from how amateur radio communities self-organize?
I think there certainly can. Like I said, um, when you look at policy, the policy should, it can't be a goal within itself. It has to have, sort of this larger, framework or structure. If there's something, I've seen a lot of, attempts to create ordinances and you know, change laws because something doesn't fit into um, your sort of community mind, and that's a framework for poor policy. So um, there's things about, when you talk about, the amateur radio service and Part 97 and all that. There's things, there's rules that I totally agree with. There's things that I kind of question, but I think the overall framework is loose enough that the regulation is more on spectrum than it is, and on, how things should operate in that spectrum, and not in more of that social realm of
Yeah,
do or no can do.
100%. Yeah, well
Hmm.
said. I think on that. Well, we'll switch topics here and go more to
Hmm.
your influencer side. You have a significant YouTube following. Last time I checked, it was well over 76,000
Hmm.
subscribers. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Um, how do you approach the responsibility of having such a large
Hmm.
following?
Yeah, I think what I've always done with my online content is always to be a sort of a positive force. Uh, you know, there you see some channels that'll grow by being negative or contrarian,
Yeah,
and I think that's not really a good or sustainable way of producing content. You may
yeah,
get
I
you a lot
agree.
of likes and views, because people want to see the train wreck of the week. But
Yeah,
that's I've always, when I consider my growth and the content that I produce, I want to have something that's going to stand the test of time, make, evergreen content that you can watch, something that I made 5 years ago, you can watch today and still receive
Exactly. Yeah.
value from it.
Oh yeah.
And a high percentage of what I've done is, it's just that sort of slow crawl, as and growth. The thing that, when we talk about, um, responsibility and in how we produce content, the thing that I really detest is this whole idea of the sad ham. And
Yeah.
you see people, it's no, yeah, this does nothing for the service. This does nothing for the
No.
hobby. All it does is inflames people. And don't call them a sad ham. Call them for what they are. They're trolls.
Yeah.
Nothing more, nothing
Exactly.
less. And
100%. Yeah.
so
Yeah,
I
for
that's
sure.
that's a
No.
term that I don't use at all. So,
Yeah. No, yeah, yeah, I get it.
hmm
And like, oh, I'm 100% guilty of looking at clickbait and be like,
yeah.
"Oh,
Oh
wow,
yeah. Oh
that."
yeah.
But like, I mean, who isn't? But like, but I highly appreciate, like you said, you're evergreen. That's a perfect
hmm
analogy. Like, I've gone back and looked through your catalog, and like it's helped me with a lot of like different aspects in ham radio, like with antennas and like your reviews
hmm
and that sort of thing. But yeah, I definitely appreciate the overall tone of your page for 100%. Um, did the scale of the audience ever surprise you?
It it's I never thought I would get as large as it is. When I first was starting out 7, 8, no, almost 10 years ago, probably close to 10 years ago, because I was making videos just as a marketing tool. It's
Yeah,
uh, get people to the website so they can learn about the other stuff I've got, the stuff I'm selling, and it was that, and then all of a sudden the online content is just really growing, especially um, or just around that time frame when COVID hit. That's
yeah,
everything online just boom, and ham radio licenses increased exponentially,
yeah,
and people were looking for content, and it was like then everybody, if you had an established channel, you were going to grow like crazy.
yeah, yeah. I was
hmm
kind of going to ask a follow-up question on that, but that perfectly answered. Like when you kind of realize when like the insurance, your influence kind of exploded, and yeah, I've yeah, the around that time, yeah, like
hmm
I've looked at like several pages, like similar content to yours, and it's like you just see like that, like I said, around COVID, like it's just like it just ramped up as exponentially,
Yep.
like on content.
Yep.
But yeah. Um, uh, and speaking of polarization earlier,
hmm
in this era of heightened polarization, how do you model constructive disagreement, especially like when like discussions do become
Sure.
heated?
Yeah, usually, so on the channel, I try to keep content moderation relatively light. I'm not out there deleting comments unless they cross that line for me, and that's, then we're talking stuff like hate speech,
Yeah,
or something that, direct attacks, and things of that nature. Those will get trashed right away. And
yeah,
there's certain keywords that I filter out, so that just to kind of keep those types of contents off the channel. And I think it's, I've found that I've got some of the best engaged community, when it comes to online contents, comments for my content, because people ask good questions,
yeah,
and I'll read every one. I'll follow up with good answers. If I see somebody that's trying to throw some snark in there, it's, well, then okay, fine. We're going to step back, and you're gonna, if you're gonna make this statement, you're you're gonna back it up, and so then
yeah,
I'll respond to this. Well, yeah, okay. Um, so what's your basis? What's your proof? Support your assertion. And a lot of times shuts either that shuts down the trolls,
yeah,
um, or it creates a conversation that at
yeah.
least has some kind of value to it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Hmm.
and yeah, I've noticed too. Like those comment spaces, they kind of govern themselves a little bit.
Hmm.
Like not only responding, but like they're like they'll like obviously the really bad stuff gets edited,
Yeah.
gets taken out
Yeah.
with your filters. But like yeah, if someone gets too crazy in there, then I mean you have uh, uh, a lot of like, but it's respectful. It seems
Hmm.
like um, and
Yep.
that's good. Um, have you ever changed your mind on any kind of like publicly on a topic?
Um, it's most certainly, if you've got, if you've got, support that says, you know, what you've said is incorrect, and really it should be like X, Y, and Z. No, I'll take a look at that, and I'm sure I can find instances online, where I've made a follow-up video and I said, yeah, well, I was wrong before, and really it should be more like this. And um, there's some videos that probably don't have, the best information in them, but down and later in time, I've made a follow-up and I said, well, you know what, this is actually a better method of doing
Yeah.
something, and we should follow this instead. And
Well, I mean, I
probably,
think
yeah,
that's clearly a recipe for
yeah.
you know, a good uh, YouTube page like you have.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, just I like this better, and here's why. And it's like, and yeah, it just like I said, seems like a good recipe.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can't dig your heels in
Yeah.
and just be, that is no way of, moving the conversation forward. It it there is some give and take. There's things that are non-negotiable, but there's other things where there's a lot of room, to explore and grow. But yeah, it's.
Very good. Very good.
Mhm.
We'll switch topics here
Sure.
up to the inclusion aspect and the
Hmm.
difficult realities here in ham radio. Our club places a strong emphasis on inclusion and mutual respect. Yeah, we know amateur radio isn't immune to discrimination or bigotry.
Hmm.
In your experience on the air or online, have you ever encountered any of that said exclusionary behavior within the hobby?
I have, online exclusion. Their content forums are rife with, that kind of behavior. And I've witnessed it. I've called people out for it, and it's. I think it's an important thing to do. If um, case in point, it's on one of these online forum threads, somebody was making a statement and purposely misgendering an individual, and I called the person out on it, and I think ultimately the thread got deleted because there was too much heat on
Yeah,
it, but it's something you have to do, in person. I think while our community in north central Wisconsin tends to be pretty conservative, and our club is probably pretty conservative. I do, um, uh, it. We are typically pretty open and welcoming. At least I hope we are, and I always have been. I've always approached newer prospective people, and I said welcome them to the group, welcome them to the space, and it's things like that you have to do, in person too, in order to, if you want to be inclusive, it starts with yourself.
yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I kind of experienced the same. Living in central Indiana. I mean, Indiana's pretty well known for being
Mhm.
uh, largely conservative state, and yeah, I mean, you get whiffs of it in person, and like people make comments, and I I mean, I'm of course the way I look, I'm passing as like I pass as conservative, but I try to like if someone says something to me like about that sort of, I mean, I try to like, no, that's not what I believe in,
Hmm.
but but I'm always trying to be respectful, and hopefully that gets, returned, in kind.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's tough. You know, it's if you feel like the odd person out, it can be that could be a difficult situation. I and but it's important, to stand up and say no to hate, and that's how
100%.
yeah, that's how I've done things. I don't know, for decades, probably since, at the very least, it's going to school at the university down in Madison, and from
Yeah.
there on. So
Do you believe the culture of amateur radio is improving in terms of inclusion, or do you think there's still significant work ahead?
I think it's improving. It's gonna the issue with amateur radio is that, I mean, it's ham radio's been 100 plus years old,
Yeah,
and there's a significant portion of the community that is quite a bit older than me.
yeah,
I'm in
yeah,
my 50s, and I used to be the young guy, at the club, and now not so much anymore. I don't know what happened, with time, but
yeah,
I definitely think it is, getting better. At least, people are feeling more comfortable. One thing I've noticed, I'm a big uh, advocate. I love to do, the Parks on the Air program,
yeah,
getting out and portable operations, and making those contacts. And I'd say within the last, couple years of Parks on the Air, I've logged an increasingly higher percentage of women operators on the HF bands,
yeah,
and that totally amazes me,
definitely.
because those are voices that you would probably never hear otherwise.
Yeah,
I think that amateur radio has always attracted, people that are on the fringes and maybe on the outside, because it's the kind of hobby where you don't always have to have a face, and that makes some people a lot more comfortable. Like we said earlier, more and more people are getting into Morse code and even digital operations, and that is, those are two modes where you find a lot of people that maybe are not, you know satisfied with what their voice sounds like,
yeah,
so they can get on the air and have a great time. And it's it the cool thing is that, you don't know anything about the person, which, other than that communication, through the Morse code, or the digital means, and that breaks that barrier. It's now we're actually talking as two equals, not as
yep,
someone that someone, that would be viewed as an inferior.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, like, and me, like I said, I'm only early on,
Hmm.
in my ham radio journey, but like getting on like the nets and stuff, and like especially like the national ones through DMR
Hmm.
like All Star and Echolink and all that. Like, I knew coming into ham radio there was mostly like, it was a male space, male dominated,
Hmm.
but like you hear like women on like the nets and stuff like that, and it's like it's like, I'm like, it makes me happy,
Oh,
to
yeah.
hear those voices. and um, and then here early on in our group that we've created, um, it is a majority of females in our group, and that I I definitely think that's important, like moving
Hmm.
forward. Along with like diversity more than just men versus women, but diversity like period. But yeah,
Hmm.
and
Absolutely.
yeah, I'll follow up with this, and it's something I've been guilty of definitely in the past, and I'm trying to, and I can still be guilty of sometimes because like it's an uncomfortability. But do you think silence is part of the problem? Like in as far as the inclusion aspect, and like I said, I've definitely
Hmm.
been guilty of this myself.
Yeah, silence as like not recognizing an individual, or silence and not speaking out, or
Yeah,
I get, yeah, no,
the speaking out. Yeah,
mhm, I think so. As with anything, it's it um if you want to have a diversity of ideas out there, you gotta sometimes you gotta speak up for others that may not feel like they've got that voice to speak up for. Uh, so yeah, absolutely. It's probably, that might be one of the things, holding back marginalized communities from getting on the air, is they feel like they don't have, they don't have any kind of stake or voice in the,
yeah,
you know, in the community, and bringing those bringing those ideas forward. Sometimes that can make a big difference.
yeah, and yeah, that's what kind of what I was like trying to do with this project and group that we were going on. I'd like, and I know where I sit, the way I look, like it's I'd like to use some of my privilege to help those
Hmm.
that 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 don't get recognized and don't get like the diligence that with this hobby, and reach out to them and help them cultivate a love for it. I mean, because
Sure.
I, I I I mean I know it's only been early on. I mean, I turned 46 this past October, and I wish I would have got into it sooner. But yeah, I really enjoy like all the different aspects of it. I mean, there's so many wormholes to go down. It's just
Hmm.
it's just fun to me, and I think like with like the whole STEM program and everything, like um a lot more people could get into this, and it would be beneficial to them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No,
Even
absolutely. Yeah, I'm not really well, I guess I was always been sort of a technical kind of person. I got a degree in communications, and what I really find fascinating about amateur radio is not so much the STEM, but just like the social awareness, the historical value, and bridging communities. Making eye contact halfway around the world and talking to another person in another culture is I find that really, really neat, and I
Oh yeah.
I, I enjoy that. And whenever I get to talk to an Italian station, I can give them my three words of Italian. Or I talk to a German station. He's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I took German in high
Yep.
school. I can say something profound that comes off totally stupid in German, and
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh yeah. I love the DX context, as
hmm
it were. Yeah. Getting way out there.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. All right. We'll move on to
hmm
our next topic, which is like your engineering and
sure,
ethics with
hmm
uh, your antenna manufacturing.
yeah.
Um, uh, what design philosophy guides your antennas?
Yeah, so I really got started with this, oh gosh, more than 20 some years ago. I was wanting, an efficient little 2 meter antenna. And like I said, back then, 2 meters was the thing. So I looked, I looked on, online and, found some plans for the J-pole style antennas out of copper tubing. And I built one for field day and somebody liked it. And I ended up selling that at the end of field day. I said, well, if this is something that people like, maybe I can build a few more. So I got some more copper tubing, got some, did a little bit of refinement, and got it to, sort of a saleable piece, and started selling online. And over the years, it's just growing and growing and growing. And I don't know how many thousands of these I've built, but mostly it's a simple, it's an efficient antenna. I think what's really um, built created sort of my growth in the marketplace is customer service and customer support. It's not so much a high degree of technical engineering, because there's not a whole lot of technical engineering in it. It's marketing. It's customer interactions, and then just building that trust year after year after year. And that's something I've had a lot more experience in with, professionally, in sales and marketing than I have in engineering design. So it's that part was I think the natural part of just growing the business.
Definitely. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then with being also you review
Hmm.
other manufacturers' products. How do you maintain like that ethical clarity with
Yep.
being a reviewer and a manufacturer?
Yeah, it's fortunately, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, does have rules and guidelines on how you are supposed to, you know, uh, market, I don't know, market a product, or review a product online. If you're receiving something of value, for influence or consideration, you gotta be upfront with that, and have those disclaimers. And I try to maintain those types of disclaimers, to the best of my ability. I always give everybody a fair shot, when it comes to product reviews. I'm just open and forth. Right, this is what they sent me. We're gonna work through it, and talk about the good and the bad, and make your decision, based on that. There's been a couple instances where there's products that I wish I had never reviewed. I made a conscious policy decision many years ago never to do 2 meter Chinese handheld radios again. The Baofeng UV5R and all of its variants, because every 3 months another weird
Oh yeah.
Baofeng-esque radio comes out, and then they want to send you one for a review. And oh gosh,
Yeah.
I don't know how many years ago I stopped doing that. I said, no more of these.
Yeah.
This stuff is hot garbage. And if it's if it's something truly of value, I'm gonna look at it. There's manufacturers that I have a really good relationship with. Chameleon Antenna, they their marketing, people like to dump on them, but consider that their whole marketing program is based upon getting their products into the hands of people that can show off how their product works. They're not buying ads in QST magazine. They're not going to the shows and the ham fests. They're doing demos and showing it in the real world situations. And some people, they think it's all um oh, I don't know, what's not so much clickbait, but you know, they hate them. They hate them. Hate them for that, because it's, you're flogging the latest product. But that's their conscious choice. And
Yeah.
I tend to I find that their products work reasonably well. Some stuff is a lot better than others, and I enjoy, testing and reviewing and continuing to use those types of products, on the air, beyond the review video. So, if you're a longtime follower of the channel, if it's something that's good, it's going to show up in a video more than once.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that early on. Yeah, I've like with the like
Hmm.
that just off the top of my head, that the alpha, the hex antenna. I know
Hmm.
you've done that a couple of times, and yeah,
Yep.
I've haven't uh, I I bought that because I based on your review and I yeah, I appreciate like the in depth that you went on to it in a couple different videos, and but yeah, um you talked about the like the Baofangs and everything.
Yeah.
Has there been anything else that you've chosen not to review because of the overlap, like you said, or that you just didn't think was well? I
Yeah.
guess I don't want you to name I don't want you
Yeah.
to name names or anything
I,
like that.
I can name like product categories. I mean it's um I'll get offers. You get all these random, once you start reviewing something, you get all these random offers in the email to do stuff, and it's like, um, you know, these items don't fit the, sort of the purpose of the channel, and so I'm not gonna do it. Um, it's you've seen like lifestyle products, home goods, things like that. And it's like, no,
Yeah,
that's, I've tried doing like um, battery packs and to a certain degree solar panels reviews, and it's been sort of because it kind of fits and it kind of doesn't.
yeah.
I don't get a whole lot of traffic from those types of reviews, so I'm less likely to do those kind of reviews just because while it seems like a fit, it really doesn't. It in the overall, it really doesn't do well, as an item
Well, yeah,
because
it's like yeah, you want to like you have
mhm,
the 76,000 followers and
yeah,
you want to go with what they mainly like came to you for. Yeah,
yep,
I can
yep,
I can see it, and but I can see like with the battery packs and stuff like that for like the POTA activations and stuff like that. You definitely need like there's not a electrical outlet everywhere.
yep.
So yeah, you definitely need somewhere some way to get that stuff. But um, I appreciate those. I'll say that
Hmm.
like the quote unquote other stuff that's not 100% like ham radio,
Yeah, yeah,
but I can see what you're saying though, definitely like like people are just like no I that's not why I come there for, but yeah, that
yep.
sort of thing.
Exactly. And so it's a decision you got to well, it's cool for people to send you free stuff, but it's no,
Yeah.
you got to
No,
make that decision. It's
yeah, every day
no,
of the
that's
week.
yeah, it's this is not the best for the channel. I've started looking at some Meshtastic stuff, and I think it's, there again, this is sort of like a borderline thing. I've been a long time user. I love APRS, the automated packet
Yeah.
reporting system. Um, but and I see the connections, between APRS and Meshtastic, and I want to explore those more. So I'm starting to get some of that stuff in the channel. Um, I
Yeah,
can
I've
tell
I've
I
definitely noticed an increase
Yeah,
in mesh stuff.
I've noticed there's a little bit of friction to it because my core viewership may not totally understand what it is,
Yeah.
but I don't know. We're gonna, yeah, hopefully
Well,
I got
I
some, yeah.
mean, I'm sure over time, your audience will change. I mean, obviously, I'm not just not to sound morbid, but attrition.
Mm-hmm.
But but yeah, yeah, it's and I'm sure you have to evolve,
Yeah.
to keep things, going
Oh yeah.
and and obviously you have a good formula. So I would have no advice to give to give you because I don't have a YouTube channel. But yeah, on that. But is there any antenna myths you'd like to have retired?
Um, I think the biggest one, something that I fight against a lot, and I think it's, we as maybe educators, especially in these technician licensed classes, we probably are doing more of a disservice than anything. Is that perfect SWR is not the end goal of an antenna system. It's when you're instructing a prospective ham, you talk about standing waves and SWR, and somehow the message gets pounded into them is that you got to be down to 1 to 1. You got to get down to 1 to 1. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you're not perfect. It's not an efficient antenna, and that's not always the case. SWR can be an indicator of performance. It's not the arbiter of performance. There's other things that we need to think about. We need to think about resonance and reactance, and get into those, and think about what really causes those the standing waves, and how to deal with them. There's a couple channels that I think, um, bless their hearts, they do more harm than good because they obfuscate things. When it comes to standing waves and antenna performance, and we just got to get beyond that. And I'll, for sake of operating, especially operating in the field, if you're below 2 to 1, hey, that's an 11% loss in power. I can live with that.
yeah, yeah,
If my reactance is down to 0 and my SWR is 2 to 1, I will run that all day long.
yeah. There you go. It's like, can you hear what the other person is clearly saying on the other side?
Yeah.
Like then yeah, that's a QSO. Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
for sure, for sure. Well, let's move on to a little bit with uh, your
Sure.
governance and your civic parallels here.
Hmm.
You call, pardon if I'm not, it's Wausau, Wisconsin, correct?
Wausau. Yeah.
Wausau, yeah, okay.
Yeah. There's a whole generation of people that haven't seen those old Wausau insurance commercials, with on
Okay.
60 Minutes back in the 80s and 90s. It's you're probably old enough to remember them, but yeah, it's Wausau, WAUSAU. So
There you go. Yeah. So it's a Wausau, Wisconsin. You
yep.
call that home, and there
Hmm.
you're on the city council.
Yep.
Can you expand on your role a bit there?
Sure. Yeah, I serve as an alder for the city of Wausau. I've been there for 4 terms. I'm up for reelection on my fifth term. You know, if uh, if the Lord willing and the river don't rise, I'll be reelected again. But there's in politics, there's never a sure thing. Um, I think it has it amateur radio is has played an interesting part of my understanding of infrastructure, and how the municipalities, the community work. Consider, we've had to consider issues like memorandums of understanding with our local emergency management, or our local emergency manager, which is a county task, but the county and the city, in regards to emergency management, have to work together. So, we've got those MOUs, and they have to be approved by the council. So, just having experience being on the Aries team, and working with emergency management has been helpful in that regards. Communications, it's especially for police and fire. It is totally astounding to me that to outfit 76 law enforcement for our community, we got to spend close to $6,000 for a handheld radio.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those. Those Motorola's, they are crazy.
They are, that's insane, but
Yeah,
we get you still get I mean you'd appreciate them out 6 years of life out of them, and then they got to
yeah,
get replaced again. So it's knowing that same with the fire radios. That's another $6,000 price tag for our
yep,
74 firefighters. It's everybody needs a radio, and
yep,
there's other infrastructure things. We're talking about oh my goodness, the water utility, SCADA systems that are running off of our um, municipal towers and water towers and that to keep everything under control. And it's the public works director comes up and starts talking about that, and he says, "Oh yeah, that makes sense because ham radio."
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, do you think like do you think like the local governments, yours included, or just in general, do you think they fully understand what amateur radio can contribute?
No, I don't. That's probably something that as organizations, we need to work harder with, talking to our emergency managers, talking to our elected officials, especially our mayors and maybe department heads, the police chief, the DPW director, things like that. To explain, it's but again, we we can't oversell ourselves too. We gotta as a community we have to understand our limitations, and it's people that are complain that they never emergency management doesn't use us at all, and well, maybe it's probably one or two, it's probably a couple, one or two of a couple different reasons. Either you're not properly trained, you're properly organized, you haven't explained what the benefits are to these organizations, to the county or the municipality or something like that.
Very good, very good.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Well, we'll switch up
Sure.
a little bit here and move talk on your personal signal here.
Hmm.
Let's learn a little bit more about
Sure.
just Michael here. Uh, we brought up your home base here a few minutes ago there in
Hmm.
Wisconsin. Can you talk a little bit about your personal support system you have around you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've lived in this community since my parents moved here in '78, so I've got very deep roots in the community. I uh, met my wife Christine in college. Got married soon after that, and she moved here to the Wausau area. Two children, both are in there. My God, my daughter's almost 30 years old. And,
Yeah,
it's- and my
I've
and my
got a 19-year-old.
yeah, yeah, and my son is not much younger than that. So it's not a real large family, but she lives down in Madison. He lives in the community with us, so I see him a lot more often. Um, but like I said, it's I've been in the community long enough that we've made community connections, through groups and organizations. So uh, Wausau's a town of about 40,000 people, so it's big enough that you can feel like you're a city, but small enough that you can get these strong community connections. And
Yeah,
we've over the years we've met a lot of people and collected a lot of people, of friends and acquaintances that, well, if you need something, it's basically you could say, I know just the person to call. And
yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, everybody
and
knows
that's
everybody. Yep.
and that's helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Has any of your family ever appeared in any of your content?
They have. I try to keep, I don't, well, you've seen Christine many times in videos.
Yeah.
She's been a willing slash unwilling participant over the years, either in the foreground or the background of it. My to children. I usually try not to include them a whole lot. If we're out doing a day or a weekend thing, I might be selecting camera angles that are just, you know, off to the side
Yeah.
of their activity, just because I don't want them to feel like they have to be a part of the video.
Yeah.
If they want to be, we'll pull them in, but otherwise,
Yeah.
no. That's their decision. It's not mine to force on them.
And how about on your close circle?
Hmm.
Do they, I guess, do they understand your radio bug?
Uh, yeah, I think they do. Uh, Definitely. It's that there's people, in my, I when I first got into, ham radio many years ago, it's one of those things like I felt sort of it seems strange or unusual to kind of talk about that to people because then you go into the you have that constant fear of having to go down this rabbit hole
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
explaining what it all is. And now I've gotten more comfortable with saying, it's like, yeah, I love amateur. I'm an amateur radio operator. I talk around the world and things like that.
Yeah.
And it if the conversation comes up, like I remember once a couple of years ago, it's we were getting ready for a council meeting in one of the other, there's always chit chat, but before the meeting, before the official meeting begins, and one of the elders says to me, he goes, I saw one of your videos online.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what did you
Yeah.
think about it? He goes, and this guy, he's a great person. He's he was retired law enforcement that
Yeah.
got into serving his community in a different fashion. He goes, yeah, I found it really interesting. And it's like,
Oh,
well, that's
yeah.
good.
Yeah. At least there's that. Yeah.
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 So, so I don't feel so timid, about that anymore. And using my amateur radio experiences as a tool, for some sort of broader concept.
Yeah. Very good.
Hmm.
Well, outside of radio,
Hmm.
and your business and public service,
Yep.
what kind of helps you recharge?
Sure. It's not all ham radio, and that's a good thing. I've got other
Yeah.
hobbies and activities that I enjoy. I love cooking, and I've done a lot of some pretty complex things. I've made, at one time our local, there was a local organization that was doing, they do these fundraiser dinners where they had celebrity chefs, and
Oh,
somehow I
yeah.
got invited as one of those, and that was fun. Photography, I've always had a long interest in photography, and that sort of shaped my direction into film and video and YouTube and all that. Um, I think it's one thing that a lot of people don't may not know about me is I've done a lot of long distance bicycling. At one
Okay.
time, I've always had a dream or a goal of actually doing, one of these cross country routes, but never have gotten that far. But I have done multi-day tours where I've crossed the state multiple times, from north to south, from east to, west to east, and all that, several bicycle tours. And that's something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I have a few friends that are into like the
Yeah.
road cycling and stuff like that. And yeah, it's in and like the area that I live, I call it suburban because it's kind of like suburban rural area.
Hmm.
But like we have like a lot of winding like country roads and like it's popular
Yeah.
for the road bikes. And but yeah, they're the people that are into it, they're into it. Like they're
Oh
full into
yeah.
it. Like
Oh yeah.
they got they got the they got the spandex on and everything. I don't
Hmm.
know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't. I don't. There's. I mean, just because they make it in my size doesn't mean I should be wearing it.
Au contraire.
Yeah, And so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna out there trying to look like a sausage encased in, whatever
Yeah.
tight something or other. But yeah, but yeah, but yeah, they are definitely, they're very into it. Um, do you still get, I mean, it sounds like you do, but do you still get time to just operate just for fun? Like, and not
Hmm.
have it be a video, not have it be,
Oh,
for
absolutely.
con.
There's I was just talking to somebody yesterday about that. It's just like I was at a ham fest yesterday morning, and that's why I was up way too early. But yeah, the guy said, it's so you always making videos? And he says, no, sometimes I just go out and operate for fun. I'll maybe take a couple pictures so that I can document, remember what I've done, like an antenna setup or net. But yeah, a lot of times I'll just leave the cameras off, leave the or um, and go out and get on the air for a while, and it's like, do it for
Very
the
good. Yeah. Yeah,
do
I
it for
mean,
the fun of
yeah,
the
you got to
hobby.
have balance. I mean,
Hmm.
you'll just go nuts if you go
No, yeah.
just one speed. Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
We'll wind it, start down the home stretch here, their
Sure.
path forward, with amateur radio being a living exercise and democratic practice,
Hmm.
shared rules, mutual accountability, decentralized responsibility. What role do you believe operators can play in strengthening both the hobby and the communities around them?
Yeah, I think the big thing is that be willing to serve, and that's something that I've done since early on in my amateur radio days, is to step up and if you want to, especially if you want to see change in the system, be that force, be that change, get involved, with local clubs. That was my inroad into ham radio. um, Good, volunteer, maybe get involved with a local Aries Races group, if that's your jam. And not everybody, that doesn't have to be
Yeah,
everybody's thing, but some people seem to be really attracted to that, and it can be a lot of fun. And um, there's tons of opportunities out there, and getting, willing to serve, making those connections. Like I said, it's uh, clubs are folding, not because people are dying out. It's because nobody wants to step up and be a
yeah,
leader, get on that board and help. And I know it can be challenging, especially if the group or the organization has got sort of an ingrained thought. That can be a struggle, but still, I think that's one of the best things that we can do in order to further the hobby, the amateur radio service.
oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, I like just starting up this group early on, and I mean, we had a lot of response, and
Hmm.
but I know that like a lot of the people that come in and like they join the Facebook group or whatever, or on the other social media places, but they kind of just kind of stick with kind of the quote unquote the lurker role, where
Hmm.
they just kind of want to just see that. And I mean, I realize everyone's super busy these days, and they got a lot of different things that uh, take up their time and whatnot. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. And just being like volunteering and like just getting out there and doing
Yeah,
that sort of thing. And
yeah. I mean, yeah. I'd probably for close to 20 years off and on, I had served in lots of different capacities in our local groups, and I got to the point, maybe I got a little burned out or something, and I've the last 2 years I've kind of stepped away from a lot of that, and maybe which has been good and bad, because now I see other people sort of stepping up and getting involved, and that gives me some, a bit of hope that things are moving forward, and so that's what I think I've gotten to the point where I need as sort of an I hate to say this, but an elder member of our society. It's we I need to get this new generation, on board and involved.
Yeah. Well, it's speaking of
Hmm.
being called to serve. I mean, for those operators, newer operators out there that may feel that call, like
Hmm.
through mentoring, entrepreneurship, content creation, or even like public office, what guidance would you offer them?
Sure. It's I think that the biggest thing is to be authentic and be honest. Those are probably the
Yeah.
two truest things that I can say. I get this comment a lot, of if I go down to like a ham fest or something like that, hamvention, um, people, are amazed that what you see on camera is pretty much me in real life. There's not much
What you see
there.
is what you get. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I
And
mean, perfect.
especially if it's Joe and I hanging on the live stream. This is it. This is the real me. And I think that's sort of that warm personality has attracted a lot of people, and it's but it's how it's how you gotta move forward in life. And especially with my stint on the city council, just to be upfront and honest with people is the best thing you can do in public leadership, because people don't like dishonest people. They don't,
Yeah.
if you're feeding them a line of garbage, they're not gonna. That doesn't do you do you any good at all. So it's
And
it's
100%.
yeah.
And I mean, that's clearly evident in your fourth going on, likely, it sounds like
Hmm.
fifth term here. So, I mean, obviously you're doing something right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
1 second.
Yep.
Pardon me. I get
Okay.
lovely this time of year. The pollen is getting to me.
Oh, yeah, we
But
had
yeah,
a.
I love all the drainage in the morning. It's a special treat at this time of year.
Oh yeah,
But
we're not quite to that point yet in northern Wisconsin, but I know it's
yeah,
coming.
yeah, it's just we're starting to get buds on the trees and the plants and whatnot, and yeah, and it's looking forward to that. Not, but all right, we'll move on to closing
Hmm.
reflections here. Is there anything new for you here in the horizon?
Yeah, I think so. It well, my long, I my longevity in being self-employed and uh, producing content and whatnot is always to be on the lookout, for the next new thing, and what you know just what I found that something I need to do to sustain myself into the future is I'm working on a book. It's I want to get published
Very good, very
in
good.
some way, shape, or form. And part of me still doesn't know how I'm gonna carry this off. But the other part of me says, well, you start you just need to create content. And I've seen other. I like to watch honestly, the types of videos that I usually watch are not ham radio videos.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
to
Same,
I
same.
like and I like to watch a lot of other stuff too, and
Yeah,
then bring that into my ham radio realm. And I was watching this one guy. He's just talking about making a book, and he says, "Well, it's like eating an elephant one bite at a time."
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I sit down and write 500 words over a period of time. And
Yeah.
so I've been doing that for about the last year, weekly blog posts on my website, and hopefully I can take that content and expand it and refine it, and that'll turn into something published. So
Or
that's what I'm working on right now.
is it like something is it more like kind of like a memoir type book, or is it more
No,
like instructional, or maybe a combination of both?
I think it's more a series of essays. So it's not a I'm not looking at making something well, I suppose it's instructive, but no, it's more like I like I like these short essays. Think of like the humorist Gene Shepard or Garrison Keeler.
Oh
Something
yeah,
like
yeah, definitely.
something like that. But with a amateur radio focus and a variety of topics, and maybe if I'm smart, uh, I can create an arc that goes, that kind
Yeah,
of ties everything together, like Keeler does in his book. So who knows where it's going to go.
very good.
But I think it's a series. Much like that POTA book that came out a couple years ago. I think that's a piece of ham radio published content that you don't normally see.
Yeah,
So I think that would be a
definitely. Oh yeah,
good
100%.
good niche to get into.
And this poses a very important question.
Hmm.
When the audio book comes out for it, what actor is going to be reading that?
Oh my, oh my, oh my. That is a really good question.
Sorry to put you on the spot there. Yeah, you want to go with a little Morgan Freeman, or
Morgan
that,
Freeman or
like that sort
something,
of
or
thing. Or,
maybe more like, I don't know, Jason Alexander.
oh, read in the style of George
Yeah,
Costanza.
just a
Yeah.
stanza. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I'd have
Do
to
do you
think about that.
see your content going in any different direction? I know we talked about it earlier,
Hmm.
but yeah, kind of like sticking with what your core wants, but and then we talked a little bit maybe about like maybe like the
Yeah.
mesh-tastic stuff kind of
Hmm.
creeping in there, but yeah, any
I
any
think,
thoughts on
yeah,
that?
I think in the short term, probably going to be try to be more of the same. I understand that a lot of my content is POTA Parks on the Air centric, and POTA is not going to be forever. So I need to be able to pivot, and I don't really know yet what that pivot will be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just kind of dip your toes in,
Mhm.
see what you can find. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm always on the lookout for new angles, new direction, and yeah, well, I'll have to hopefully within the next year it'll come to me.
Very good, very good.
Hmm.
All right. Final couple of questions here. What advice would you give operators who experience any kind of hostility in the
Yeah.
hopper?
Okay, that's tough, and because hostility, and negativity really can turn a person off, and I've seen new hams get hit that wall, and I feel for them. Um, I think the only saving grace is that ham radio is a really big umbrella, and it can attract all sorts of individuals, both good and bad. The fortunate thing is that because there's so much that you can be involved with, that you can, if you hit that hostility in one area, maybe going to another area or focus feels could feel more welcoming. Say, you know, I guess case in point, because it's easy to pick on is, you know, you get on the 2 meter repeater, there's somebody that always so it shuts you down or whatnot. And
Yeah.
well, maybe there's another avenue. Um, to avoid that. You hear garbage on the HF bands. Spinning the dial a lot of times is the best way to
Oh
to
yeah,
to
definitely.
avoid
I've
that
heard
thing.
stories about that recently. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's what it all really boils down to, and with anything in life, is you got to find your tribe. And I think it'll, to be to be shut down is a terrible thing, but also be understanding that there's there is a community out there, and there's a community that's going to care for you, and you just need to find it, and they will welcome you in. I mean, groups like this that would are a great nexus for finding that community, finding that tribe.
Yeah.
Modes. We've talked. I think we've talked about this, before. If people don't like how they sound on the air, moving into a mode like CW or digital
Yeah.
will is a great equalizer,
Yeah.
and that might be where you need to be if you
Yeah.
feel like,
100%. 100%.
so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And anything that keeps you optimistic about ham radio's future?
I think, like I said, it's things that really encourage me are activities by individuals that you normally don't hear over the air. Like I said, earlier, that I'm amazed at the number of women that are making contacts through Poet at Parks on the Air.
Definitely. Definitely.
And that's a cool thing. Uh, I go to Hamvention, and I see people that are definitely not your typical ham radio operator,
Yeah.
and I find that really cool. It's like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. So that's that encourages me too. So it's out there. There are, there's resources. There's people like you that, waiting to make those connections, and we just need
I
to we
pr-
just need we just need that tool, that nexus, to get everybody together.
Yeah, yeah, Michael, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time
Hmm.
today. Yeah,
Oh
again, I
yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, your online content and influence have been so helpful to thousands of operators, myself included. I especially appreciate you coming on here today and voicing your support for inclusion in ham and radio.
Oh yeah. No, it's
You'll
my
never know what
pleasure.
it means. Like, I know somewhere out there's an operator who's afraid to pick up a radio
Hmm.
because of the hateful rhetoric they've seen or heard, an exclusion that they felt. And I have no doubt they'll come across this discussion here today and see that there are people in this hobby that do care, and see that there's more of them that care than they
Hmm.
realize. And maybe that'll bring those disenfranchised operators back into the fold.
Yeah.
My alliance co-founder and I, we both agree that if we could just bring in one user that was unsure, or turn back one ham that was on the brink of quitting, that we've done our job in this project.
Oh, absolutely.
And our thanks again to Michael Martens, KB9VBR. Any parting thoughts for us today?
I don't know. It's go out there and have fun. As I like, as I like to sign off, when I'm writing my blog audios, blog articles. I hope to catch you on the air soon.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
And with that, we'll call an interview. At Alliance, we believe communication systems and civic systems share the same foundation. That's trust. Trust that operators will follow the rules, trust that voices will be heard, and trust that communities can solve problems together. Amateur radio works because operators choose to make it work. And thank you for joining us here at Alliance Amateur Radio Network. Until next time, stay curious, stay civil, and we'll see you on the air. This is KE9DQS, and I'm QRT.